As you let me know before we hit the record button, Notre Dame's pretty well sewn up this recruiting class for 2022. 13 guys on campus, 21 total, number 7 ranked, 247 Sports. I got to think, of course, Brian Kelly did the bulk of the work there, getting that in place. But was there anything that really Marcus Freeman did? Obviously, he did a nice job of maintaining the class, but anything that he was able to flip or add to this in the last month or so?
I don't know about flip or add. Like you mentioned, I mean, the class stayed pretty solid. They ended up losing, I think, 3 guys since the departure of Brian Kelly, but I would argue that all 3 of them were probably going to leave anyway. They were trending in different directions before Brian Kelly left. And I don't really think that Marcus Freeman staying on staff was really going to change that. The only thing I actually would argue is if Kelly left earlier, maybe Marcus Freeman would have changed it in a positive direction. But one of the guys stayed home and is playing for USC, and CJ Williams. I think he's a kid that was always going to try to find a reason to stay there if possible. Another kid, kind of the same thing. Devin Moore was a safety out of Florida, ended up signing with Florida. So, and one of his big reasons was so his family could come see him. And obviously, USC and Florida have brand new coaches themselves and, are probably trending up. So it's certainly, I'm sure that those kids are excited to play for their hometown teams. And then the last kid was a wide receiver. I think he was Notre Dame's actually lowest ranked kid. So from that standpoint, it wasn't a huge thing, but with losing 2 receivers last second and only signing 1, certainly a big deal. And that was Amorion Walker, who ended up flipping to Michigan on signing day, which was, somewhat expected. He was a kid that was flirting with Michigan for a while, but outside of that, I mean, yeah, it was Kelly that did a lot of this work. I think you got to give him a lot of credit as being the head coach, but I also don't think that they land probably 5 or 6 of these kids without Marcus Freeman coming over from Cincinnati last year. You can argue that Notre Dame landed the top linebacking class in the entire country. I mean, all 4 guys were Butkus Award high school finalists, or high school Butkus Award finalists, I should say. I think 2 of them ended up finishing in the top 4 of that voting. Their top ranked kid is a linebacker that wasn't even offered prior to, Marcus Freeman stepping foot on Notre Dame's campus or being their defensive coordinator. So he deserves a lot of the credit for how good this class is. And there's a lot of kids in this class that I don't think end up at Notre Dame if Marcus Freeman wasn't there.